just said you can throw out the window, because if you don't have this, it doesn't matter. Okay? So, we're going to fly through this. Discovering your church's and. So, I want you to think about this for a minute. I had a chance to travel to a church in the middle of nowhere. I'm literally in the middle of the only hotel you would recognize the name on was a 45-minute drive from this place. Boonies. You know how much it costs to do a mailing for their entire community? $200. $200. Small community, all right, in the middle of nowhere. And when I visit, look at this. This is downtown. You see how many churches are sitting there? 12. Now, imagine, and this is hard to do, you have the curse of knowledge because you're ministers, right? You think through your lens that's different than a lot of folks who aren't. Let's just pretend that you're not for now, and you decide, hey, you know what? I want a closer walk with Jesus. Which of the 12 churches do you want to go to? Interesting. Now, hold that thought. We're going to travel outside of probably most of your comfort zones and say, you run a cafeteria now. You need a heated holding cabinet. Which one's the best? I know there's some food service people out here who have probably some strong opinions. Vulcan, I hear some Vulcans, right? No? All right. You see what I'm saying? How do you pick this? How do you pick one? If you've not been in that industry your whole life, how do you pick a machine? Research, right. So, which of these 12 churches, if you're new, don't believe in Jesus? I have no idea. Which of these churches believe in the Bible? If you asked a person off the street, what would they tell you? All of them. How do you decide which one to go to? That's kind of a complicated question. All right? You with me so far? I love this, and it really ties in what my friend from Andrews said yesterday, which I really believe in this. So, Matthew 9:35 said, Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news, preaching the gospel. And then Matthew just kind of throws in this sentence here. And by the way, he healed people. Think about that for a second. So, there's an important, what I call an and in there. And I think every church has a unique and. And so, I'm a business guy, forgive me. I've got a couple examples from a business perspective. This is applicable in the business world too. Check out this Airbnb. You know what a mind-blowing stat? It's just people have an extra room and people who need a place to stay can activate an app, an and. Guess what? I looked this up in October. I don't know what it is today. So if the numbers are different, you see the date I pulled it. Airbnb, who pretty much doesn't own any property, has no assets, was worth $73.34 billion. And let's just walk right on over here to Hilton. $35 billion, but how many Hiltons do you see when you drive? Lots of them. This company owns nothing, and it's worth twice as much as this company who owns a ton of stuff. It doesn't compute. And, you know, we've all been to New York City, I'm sure. A lot of us have. Trying to get a taxi like 20 years ago was a blood sport. I can attest to. And then along came Uber. And guess what? Taxi medallions that cost $1 million are like not $1 million anymore. So let's be clear about what an and is not. Somebody asked me once, well, this is just a marketing ploy, isn't it? Let me ask you to go back to what Jesus did. He preached the gospel and he healed people. Do you think Jesus's healing people was a gimmick? I think he saw people hurting there, and it's like he couldn't move on. It was as part of him, right? He could not see that suffering, and it could not last. It's the same for us. And so your and cannot be a marketing hook. Won't work. People see through it real fast. It's not a ploy. It's not something you can change more frequently, probably than 5 years. I mean, it's a pretty serious deal, and I'm going to share some examples with you here. And for it to be successful, it has to be an innate part of your church's DNA. So, let me show you some examples from some other churches that we work with, Neighbors in Need. And so the vision for that organization is a ministry of the Anderson SDA Church for the families in our community to live more abundantly through Jesus. They found through a homeless that there's a homeless tent in the community, and so they started making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and delivering 20 of them. Well, they needed more than that, and so they kept making it and making it and making it, and now they're up to delivering 300 meals every Sabbath. Delivered. It's a lot of work. That's not a gimmick. Does that make sense? That is not a gimmick. But if you go down the streets and ask the homeless community what church they belong to, Anderson SDA Church, that's my church. We have drunkards that come walking in up to the praise time in the microphone. It's a little eye-opening experience, I have to tell you. It's not what I'm used to growing up. It's different. But it's crazy. We went to one of the homeless folks' funeral, and you guess what? More Anderson church members were there than family members. Genuine part of the DNA. This is not a hook. This part of the church's DNA. And it's just growing. I could speak for a long time on this. I'm not going to. Christina's Kitchen. I love this example. I was in Kentucky, Tennessee, speaking at their ministerial association not too long ago. And I learned about Christina's Kitchen. Plant-based, no meat. This is the kicker, though. It's located in Whitley City, Kentucky. How many of you ever just perused Whitley City, Kentucky? Did you go to Christina's Kitchen? Yes. That is fabulous. So, if you're doing a market research study on vegans, do you think you open a vegan restaurant in a town that's not even the town that you can't find in Kentucky? If you're Christina, you do. Mind-blowing, but guess what? They've been doing it for 9 years. Their church has doubled because everybody goes to Christina's church. Crazy. Maine has 100 children in their daycare. Hollywood SDA has showers of blessings. Schedule your shower. 30 days to better health. We talked a little bit about this, but this is a little bit more what it looks like. It takes you on a 30-day journey, 30 tips. Every day you get a video. Guides you to better health. And if you want to, you can even make a donation that supports the ministry, like we talked about, and people do. So there's two key ingredients to an and. A true personal need in your community and passion inside your church. That's it. Neighbors in Need started with one person. One person said, you know what, we're going to do something about this homeless community in Anderson. You know now there's 75 volunteers. 75. We've raised $500,000 for a new church cooking center. And we have community members that come and volunteer. Probably 20 of the 75 are not SDAs. Like, we love what you're doing. We want to help you. And you know what? It's made the tithe envelope for the conference. We have 5 SDA churches that are funneling money. You see how an and is powerful? It grows. People get behind it. And you're probably already doing it. If you look at your calendar and what you're funding, I'm almost 99% sure that every church here has an and. It's just nobody in the community knows about it. And so I want to share, anybody heard of Seth Godin before? We have a couple hands out here. So he is like the forefather of modern marketing. All right? Everybody in marketing looks up to this guy. And so he was, I think it was England. He was driving around one day getting inspiration for his book called The Purple Cow. And he said, there's so many cows out here. These are all amazing cows. These are like the perfect cows. But no one's paying any attention to them. And he said, but what if there was a purple cow? Well, that would be new. I just might get in my car and drive to see a purple cow. And he wrote this. He said, explains in order to survive in the modern business world, a company needs, or let's say a church, to have a purple cow. That is remarkable. Will differentiate them from those that don't have a purple cow. So, let's kind of rewind this, right? So, we're looking for a church that loves Jesus, and guess what? We have a church that delivers 300 meals in our community every week. They must love Jesus. You see what I mean? So guess what? So this is not the same town, and it won't apply because there's not 300 people in this town. But how many other churches do you think can say, we show the love of Jesus by delivering 300 meals every week? Would you like to help us? None. You see how powerful that is? Jesus was showing his love, and people listened. And one of my colleagues shared with me at one time and said, you know what? People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And so if we don't show them how much we care, how will they know that we really love Jesus? I think it's something to think about.